for sure. So we'll answer a few panel discussion and we'll open the floor up for a quick Q&A session. So please feel free to send any question your way in the chat button below. So without further ado, let me introduce the CEO of Moonstake, Mr. Lawrence, to give us some speech. Mr. Lawrence, please.
It's not going to be a speech, but thank you, Roy. Again, happy Chinese New Year. I'm very happy to have so many attendees with us. I'm very excited to be able to share about decentralized and centralized, about crypto and blockchain with our fellow experts in this golden bull year and definitely in an ultra bull run. So I'm Lawrence, I'm from Moonstake. Moonstake is a staking pool and wallet solution provider. We have a B2C and a B2B component. For the B2C, we have our mobile app, Play Store, Apple Store, and a web platform. You can easily transfer your tokens into the wallet and then stake accordingly in the staking pool supported by us in ADA, Tezos, Polkadot. We also have an institutional solution for wallet enterprise and API connection through SDK to our staking pool. Currently, we hold more than 500 million worth of assets and very excited to be able to collaborate and see if there's any other institutions willing to join us. I'll hand over the baton to Qi and let him introduce himself.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. Qi here, the founder and also the CEO and CTO of Tokenized Exchange. So we are a cryptocurrency exchange that started in Singapore back in late 2017. And in 2019, we are one of the 3 licensed exchange in Malaysia. And now we are under MS exemptions in the cryptocurrency offerings. Yeah, nice to see you all here and nice to be with Lawrence and Ian today. So I will pass my baton now to Ian for the introductions. Yeah.
Thank you, Qi. And thank you, Defy. Thank you, Moonstake, for having us here today. As kindly introduced, my name is Ian, and I'm one of the founding members and the associate director of Merkle Science. Briefly speaking, Merkle Science is a blockchain transaction monitoring and intelligence company. So basically, we work with businesses like exchanges, custodian, wallet providers, as well as financial institutions in order to provide them with compliance services around the cryptocurrencies that they deal with. So as cryptocurrencies become more and more popular, naturally, we don't just see retail and institutions come in, we see bad actors who want to use cryptocurrency for things like money laundering, terrorist financing. And so what we do is to assist these companies in helping them identify when these bad actors want to utilize their platform so as to create, a more regulated and safe cryptocurrency environment. And so with that, over back to, I think, Roy.
Oh, thank you so much, guys, for the introduction. So I think that's great. So I think to kickstart our panel discussion for today, I think it'd be good for us to visit the central theme of our session today, centralized or decentralized. And how can institutions ensure that digital assets are safe and secure? So without further ado, our first question for the panelists here today is, what are the advantages of DeFi over traditional finance in order to encourage more allocation of assets from institutions? So Lawrence, what's your take on this?
Well, apart from the fact that currently we are in an ultra bull run, in fact, we are in a correction period. So, it might be a good time to buy some more BTCs, not financial advice. Or the fact that this industry is 24/7, you're going to have people sleeping, you're going to have companies saying, I'm sorry, I'm on leave, please don't disturb me. There's no such thing in this business. I think the immediate proposition here is that the cost of managing assets or even transactions is much lower. So for example, for BTC, currently a transaction fee on average is about $24 USD. There has been cases of $1 billion worth of BTC transferred, and the transaction cost or the gas fee is only 649. So I think that itself is something that is definitely unheard of, and the cost of collaborating with partners, of having custodian, etc., I'm sure is much lower and much higher returns.
Great. Just to add on to that, so I think one of the really exciting things about these DeFi platforms is that, they run automatically on the blockchain. right? Which means that they operate 24/7, unlike some of your traditional financial products like the stock market where they are subject to strict operating hours. DeFi really runs 24/7, which means anytime you wake up, you're interested to explore DeFi, you can immediately find access to some of these DeFi platforms and pools. As well as the other advantage that I think that DeFi has over traditional finances, as it stands today, it's still relatively unregulated, I'd say. And the advantage that has is that it really opens up to a wider audience pool, right? With traditional financial products, oftentimes it's only restricted to perhaps accredited investors. And as the stock market grows, we're seeing instances where a lot of opportunities are really just restricted to a small subset of people who are there, who have enough money, right, to participate. Whereas with DeFi, there's really no minimum cost, right? And there's no restrictions. Anybody from any part of the world now has an opportunity to access some of these financial products that were previously really just limited to a small subset.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with what Ian said. I think DeFi, to be honest, has been a space. I mean, like even Bitcoin is considered DeFi, right? Like part of the DeFi initial concept. But I think things accelerate a lot when Ethereum blockchains come into the play. However, there are a lot of issues. I think back then in 2018 and 2019 is that there are a lot of efficiency. There's a liquidity issue in the DeFi. And things accelerated a lot last year when we only looked like 6-7 months ago, with Compound, Young Finance coming to the play, the whole liquidity issue seems, resolved, right? And like what Ian said, accessibility, like, during this COVID lockdown, although we can't travel, but, the crypto communities able to connect, through this DeFi and a lot of interesting products. From liquidity pools, kind of DeFi products, staking, to synthetic, even Centralized, right, or programmable stablecoin. So I think there are a lot of interesting concepts is ongoing into the space right now. I think the only key challenge I would say, we still pretty much have a similar issue back in late 2017 where gas fee is still a challenge, right, in the DeFi space. Yeah. But it's interesting to see where this goes next. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, guys, for sharing. And just a disclaimer, I think I want to give some explanation to everyone who is here today. DeFi stands for Decentralized Finance, just in case, you guys are not sure what DeFi stands for. So I think moving on to the next questions for today. And before I move on to the next question, please remember that if you have any questions that you wish to have the panelists address later, please feel free to write it down in the Q&A button below. So for the second question for today, it will be how does cryptocurrency and blockchain address the issue of privacy and cybersecurity pertaining to digital asset protection? I think that is a very important question, and most people here might be very interested to know how they can protect their digital asset, especially during times like this where most coins are going up and down, and most of them are trading as well. So Lawrence, what is your thoughts on this?
Right. So straight off the bat, like blockchain itself is something that traditional industries might feel very surprised of. It's basically all the transactions and addresses are transparent and all the records can be found online. That can be scary to some people in traditional companies, especially for banks, because you don't have that kind of open records that can be easily found through just searching online. But what this means also is that it's very easy to track bad actors. It's very easy to find out who has your assets if something go wrong. The other thing is also it's very easy to see what else everyone's doing. So that's why you have watchdogs or traders who watch those major addresses to see the funds. You can easily go search BTC or DeFi funds movement. So how does this help traditional institutions? So if something go wrong, it's very easy to track what is going to happen after that. But even before something go wrong, you can immediately it's a very robust ecosystem where you can just transfer your funds to an exchange, to trade, If you go on to have the gate-to-gate trade, you can transfer your funds to a staking pools for proof of stake coins to stake and earn the yields. We're just letting it sit there. Or you feel like, okay, something's going to happen, or you don't feel so secure, you can always put a ratio. So you can always transfer your funds to custodians and you take care of your funds. When you need it, then you transfer out. And it's all on the blockchain, so everything is tracked. It's fast. The fees are much lower. And then of course you have like forensics and AML experts like multi-signs. You can also have KYC to know your customers. So all in all, I think the ecosystem has developed over the past few years, and it definitely is secure and is robust enough.
Yeah, I think Lawrence, I will add on to that. Definitely, if you see, I will be coming from more of a regulated exchange standpoint, right? Definitely, cryptocurrency has its own uniqueness on privacy, and cryptocurrency itself come from crypto, which stand for cryptography. It is as a secure architect as best as possible, right? But the only exploitation points normally is always exchange or on the application layers. That is where we always heard a lot of hacking incidents and a lot of cybersecurity threat, right? But I think the good thing, I'm speaking on a regulated exchange angle, is that we have regulators always behind us as a governance body. So on the cybersecurity side, right? Definitely we have accountability and we have someone that check and balances to ensure that our standard is putting in the right level. So I will come into that perspective angle. And at the same time, on the privacy side, I think later we can hear from Ian. I think one thing quite maybe will slowly become an alarming concern is that with the rising of DEX and also rising of DeFi, how can we preserve the spirit of privacy of blockchain and cryptocurrency, but at the same time able to comply with the regulations that evolve nowadays, right? I think it will getting pretty challenged, right? Like how can we ensure that DeFi space can't be misused or being abused to be a tool for money launderers and all the bad actors? I think this is getting maybe a threat or getting a concerns, right? So yeah, I will pass to Ian so that what is his thoughts on this kind of development, right?
Thank you. So yes, as a company that specializes in blockchain analytics, obviously we spend a lot of time analyzing blockchain data. So I think firstly I want to clear up some misconceptions that people might have, because sometimes for people who are just entering the space, they learn about blockchain and they learn that blockchain is a distributed ledger, which means that all this information is shared across the entire world. And so people are like, wow, no privacy. And then they read about things like, oh, Bitcoin is anonymous, right? That's why drug traffickers like to use Bitcoin. Then suddenly, they get a little bit confused. But like, on the one hand, you're saying all this information is public, but then on the other hand, people are saying Bitcoin is anonymous. So how does this, what do you mean by that, right? It seems like an inherent conflict. Firstly, I want to say is that cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin are not anonymous. The more accurate term to describe them is pseudonymous, which means that looking at blockchain data, we don't actually know who it is that controls the wallet, but we can see all the transactions that wallet has done in the past, right? And this gives us a lot of useful information in terms of, tracking, analytics for compliance purposes, for tracing purposes. And in fact, one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that law enforcement has actually had more success tracking cryptocurrencies than they had with cash because of the fact that all this information is on this public database, right? So the first issue I want to address is that cryptocurrency is not anonymous, right? It is not as easy for people to launder money as what they read on the news, right? There are ways for us to protect against this. Exchanges can use systems to analyze where their clients are sending funds, where are they processing withdrawals to, in order to block, criminal actors from accessing their platforms, right? That's something that regulators are increasingly expecting companies to do. But the other part of it, the fact that blockchain is a distributed ledger, what this means is that all the data that's actually stored inside the blockchain is not just stored in one location, right? It's stored in multiple locations around the world, which means that everyone who is running a Bitcoin node is actually playing a part in securing the network, right? Because while it might be easy for you to hack one database, can you imagine having to hack the 10,000 different Bitcoin nodes around the world? Right, that becomes very, very challenging, right? So when we talk about cybersecurity, there's the other aspect that we need to realize that blockchain is really more of a database, and it's a secure database that doesn't allow people to tamper with the data inside. But the data inside is not 100% anonymous, it is pseudonymous, right? And there are ways that we can analyze this and build software to protect businesses who are dealing with digital assets.
All right, thank you so much, Ian and Lawrence, as well as Chi. But we have this question. Although we are not moving a Q&A immediately, but we have a question that is by Joshua Wong that's pertaining to this topic. So it's for Moonstake, so it's for Lawrence. So for Moonstake staking pool, can you share a bit on how do you make revenue from the stake assets to pay stakers their interest? And also, does this whole staking pool centralized concept not run contrary to the decentralized use case of cryptocurrency? And doesn't it pose a tempting target for hackers as well?
Right. So again, thank you for the question. So a quick answer here is how Moonstake earns revenue is having a fee from the profit of the yields earned. So for example, if you get annual returns is 10%, maybe we'll get a 1% cut, for example. So is a staking pool centralized? No. So what happened is all these proof of stake coins have this staking pool concept. This was since Q17. The first one will be like Tezos and AGA. And then now with DeFi projects, this staking fundamental has become very attractive. Reason being, why not stake and earn yields, and then you have to keep trading. So what happened is these staking pools are actually nodes or server points on the blockchain itself. So it's actually a decentralized, you can call it a decentralized holder. You don't exactly deposit your coins inside. What you're doing is you are staking. You're saying that in this smart contract, I'm putting this for a certain amount of period, right? So you're not exactly transferring the assets into this this node. So this is a very important point. You're just transferring a contract to say that I want to put this into this node to get this yield. And then, so the answer to the question is actually is a decentralized approach to get yields. And that's why it's secure, because your assets are actually still with you. The private key is still with you. And then you can skate unskate based on the blockchain rules and your own comfort. Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Lawrence, for addressing, and I hope Joshua Lawrence has addressed your question. So next questions that I'll proceed to the next panel questions that I have prepared. So basically, the next panel question will be: what are some of the non-financial risks in decentralized finance that you can share with investors? Because we have been sharing with so many other financial risks that has been involved, right? So what are some of the non-financial risks in decentralized finance that you can share with investors? Lawrence, please.
The non-financial risk, immediate one, as always, as I talk to everyone is, again, be ultra bull, be bear run, please don't FOMO. Especially for DeFi, their projects that don't even have people inside. It's all names like pickles and strawberries and corn and all sorts of animals and fruits that come out. The risk is you put in money, the yields might vary, they might run away, they might dump everything. It might get hacked because the project blockchain is not mature enough, it's still at the startup stage. So again, always do a due diligence, talk to experts, if like staking pools or regulator exchange or blockchain analytics experts, and make sure you cover your risk assessments. Yeah.
Okay, so coming from an exchange perspective, do you have anything to add on?
So I think on the exchange side, right, we are getting from previously we are not being regulated industry to now, most of the jurisdictions now they are regulated intermediaries like us, right? So when the regulation has come into play, there are more accountability and governance. But DeFi, I think, they are trying to get a bit different path. They are more technology focused, and it's a more borderless kind of concept. So like platform like what Lawrence tried to say, Pickers and others, and things has been evolved from ICO days to now that has been a bit totally different landscape where we don't even know that platform of DeFi platform. It won't be stated which company is behind this, or who are the key member or management team of that platform, right? So I think all these things constitute financial risk, right? One day they can be decided just to close their, although they are operating in a blockchain layer, like on their application, but they can just vanish, in the next few days, right? There's nothing can stop them, because the website that they use to host their application is still pretty centralized, right? Although smart contract they are utilized is decentralized, but they are increasing risk that it's a technology risk actually, like smart contract, they will have bugs and everything. But those smart contract right now is associated with financial elements, right? Because the users or the investors are literally using their real money to participate into their applications, and all these things now become a financial risk. So I think the rule of thumb is always putting only the money that you can afford to lose, and understand that DeFi is still at the early stage, just like cryptocurrency and blockchain industry. We are still in a very, very early stage. So a lot of things constitute high risk, and we have to really be prudent and be conscious in experimenting all these new innovations, right? I think that should be my advice and my 50 cents of thoughts. Yeah. How about Ian? Yeah.
Yeah, Ian, from a compliance perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I really want to echo what Thierry said. I mean, just to say 1-2 lines about DeFi so that everybody's on the same page. So DeFi stands for Decentralized Finance, which is basically, computer programs that have been deployed inside the blockchain that allows people to interact directly with the computer program to access these products. So let's be very clear. When you participate in DeFi, you are not giving your money to a company. You're not giving your money to any individual. You are giving your money to a computer program that somebody has created and stored in the blockchain. Now, the problem that DeFi has is that, yes, it's garnered a lot of attention. A lot of people are putting a lot of money in, but not a lot of people actually understand how these computer programs that govern these DeFi platforms operate, right? A lot of these DeFi platforms have been started by people who may not have the necessary expertise, right? Who simply copy the code from somewhere else. And I feel that a lot of people are not really, auditing these DeFi smart contracts, right? To make sure that they have no bugs, to make sure there's no backdoors that allows the creator to perhaps siphon the money out. And we've seen in the past many instances of smart contracts being hacked because of, wrong code or because of a mistake that the creators made, right? So one of the benefits, so although DeFi is great, honestly, in my perspective, typically I would put my money through these into these DeFi platforms through either regulated centralized exchanges or companies like Moonstake, because at least I have the assurance that these are companies that have their technical experts audit the smart contracts, because I know I don't have the expertise, right? And rely on them, right, to have their guys make sure that the smart contracts are actually, operating properly. So that's one of the risks. The other thing that, Chi mentioned as well is that, a lot of these DeFi platforms, there's a lack of clarity as to who should be held responsible in the event that something went wrong, right? Some of these DeFi platforms don't even have the founders made known, right? So you got to be asking yourself, why is this guy hiding behind a screen name, right? What's he afraid of, right? If he's offering a legitimate service, right? Then yeah, he shouldn't have anything to hide. And then finally, DeFi is increasingly becoming more popular, but I do echo what they said as this is like the early ICO days where regulators have not yet had the time to think about what are the frameworks that should be implemented to make sure that people who access these DeFi platforms are properly protected, right? They don't do KYC, they don't do AML checks, they don't do any kind of I won't say all, but most of them may not have, proper compliance processes in place to protect themselves, right? So that's another reason why, sometimes going through regulated exchange or companies like Moonstake, at least, if you're putting your money with them, you can trust them to act as that gatekeeper, right? To make sure that the projects that they interact with are legitimate. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ian, for sharing. So as we're talking so much into the basically compliance topic, right? So I'll basically like to also go on to the next question of the day that is related directly to market science as well. So most analytics use chain analysis to detect if a coin has been to the dark web, right? So could someone do multiple jumps to avoid detections?
Great question. And please bear with me, this may be a slightly longer answer than what I usually give. So the question of, potential criminals moving their funds through multiple transactions, in the blockchain analytics space, we term this hops, right? They hop their funds through multiple wallets, right? So when we do analysis, oftentimes people come to us and say, oh, how many hops back do you analyze, right? Now, for sure, we've seen criminals try to move their funds through multiple addresses, accounts in order to hide where they got it from. And while multiple transactions or hops may be useful to evade traditional monitoring, where the information available to banks are limited, again, somebody walks into the bank with $1 million, you don't really know where he got it before that. But with blockchain, we are exposed to the entire transaction history of every single address out there. That means that if a cryptocurrency has moved through multiple hops originating from a darknet, we can actually see that because I can actually tell you where every single Bitcoin has passed through right from it was first mined, right? All that data is available. The question is, how do you use it? And so the bigger problem is actually not the fact that criminals are moving their funds through multiple hops. The bigger problem is that compliance officers are struggling to decide how should they tackle this issue. Right? If I have a client that's sending me funds from darknet, okay, I know it's bad. But if the darknet was 5 addresses away, what does that mean? Right? Because my client could have bought the Bitcoin from someone who innocently bought it from someone who innocently got it from the darknet. And interestingly enough, Bitcoin has been around for so long that when we did a network-wide analysis, we realized that almost most Bitcoin at one point or another have touched an illegal activity. So actually, if you really think about it, most of the Bitcoin today is tainted, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't use it, right? So what we do at Merkle Science, actually, aside from just looking at where these coins have come from, we also develop other algorithms like behavior-based rules to identify if somebody is trying to move their funds in multiple hops to try and hide where they came from, right? I feel that, we live in this data-rich world. And all the more so with blockchain, the amount of data we have to analyze is unprecedented. And the blockchain transaction monitoring space is also evolving very quickly. And I think this is one of the reasons why banks are in a rush to develop their own CBDCs, right? Because they realize that if they can get access to all this transaction data, then they can perform, new age analytics to help them with their compliance as well as their work. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ian. Anyone have anything to add on to that? Or because I have a questions that is coming again from Joshua that's addressed to what Lawrence previously has just addressed. So if there's no one that's have anything to add on regarding to what Ian have mentioned, I'll just jump straight to the question.
Right, just want to quickly mention is unfortunately, as what Ian pointed out, is the compliance side or the regulation side. It has been very slow compared to the pace of industry. And then it becomes a real concern, especially for institutions who want to put in money, because the first thing people always go ask me is, are you regulated? Are you following the law? Again, I don't think any of us here is intentionally trying to break the law. It's just that this industry is so fast. It's like a rabbit and cookies race where we are racing around the track for many rounds already, and then the regulation is like, hey, what are you doing at one point? Okay, once things are moving, we're already moving like don't know how many generations away, and they're still stuck at how do we do KYC? So it has been a challenge. Again, I think it's for institutions to understand that okay, what is the real crucial issues that you might need to be aware of? First is your asset safe? Will it get hacked, etc., etc. Second is how are you going to do your KYC? How are you going to ensure AML? Because your assets when it's transacting, you need to pay income tax. You need to pay any other form of taxes. You cannot have bad actors in between these transactions. But apart from that, I think everything else is quite okay in this industry, based on what I know. Yeah.
Okay, so I think for me to go right to the question that Joshua has been addressing to Lawrence. So how do the stated yield from stake assets come about?
Okay, so a bit of background is the whole point of proof of stake. So the proof of stake came out, I think in Q15 or so, I can't really remember the exact year. For real details, please we can have another in-depth conversation or some write-up. But basically, proof of stake was an alternative proposed consensus mechanism instead of proof of work. So proof of work is what Bitcoin, Ethereum is based on. Proof of work meaning you say for every token you mine through the algorithm server processing, you get this token reward, and then you get gas fee rewards. So for proof of stake, it was also a consensus mechanism in order to power blockchain, in order to reward so-called people who are believe in these projects without having to commit to servers, so lesser electricity consumption. And in that sense, exactly because there's lesser costs involved, you're going to have to create mining servers like Ethereum or Bitcoin. That's where the original yields returns came from, rewarding you for participating, for ensuring that this network is legit, for building this network to prevent 51% takeover, to prevent double spending. So that was the original intention of proof of stake. But now it's evolved to be very vague, same as what utility token and payment tokens has become, where DeFi projects has used staking tools to reward traders for not dumping the coin, for staying with the project. So where currently these returns are coming from is from their DeFi investments in other projects. So it's called yield farming, where in the Uniswap you can swap, you can trade, and then get the returns, or you can swap your token for another token and commit into their yield farmings and get the returns and pay back to your investors. So currently, this DeFi ecosystem has made this yield farming and this staking pool returns more vague and very complicated. So to answer your question in a simple term is, you are putting in your trust and token, and then they are rewarding you for your trust and token through activities that they will do with the stake assets. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Lawrence, and to Joshua, I hope that answers your questions. So next up, we have the question for tokenized. So where do you see a centralized exchange can play a role in a decentralized world?
Yeah, I think I understand our space is moving very fast, but end of the day, like where regulators come from and where any jurisdiction or countries, is still very, how to say, putting. Or maybe I should take a step back and start first. Why exchange exists at the first place, right? Like why centralized exchange exists in the decentralized world, like a bit contradicting, right? But the key essence is that anyone that's new to the cryptocurrency or blockchain, cryptocurrency itself, like Bitcoin, you still need a gateway, right, to access the cryptocurrency. Like now you have Sing dollars, but how do you buy Bitcoin? How do you buy Ethereum and so on, right? So you need a platform, and we are the platform, and after that, start from a small platform, it evolved into an exchange that facilitate all the buyer and seller for trading, right? And after that, with the rising of DeFi, rising of all the other platforms. So what is our role right now? I think our role right now is, where the regulators and where the countries because we are the gateway that facilitate a lot of traffics of our cryptocurrency tradings. So, countries and also regulators are looking on us as intermediaries, right? Where, compliance topic, where regulations topic is coming to us right now, because we are the key risks also that are associated in this industry, where we facilitate on the fiat on-off ramp, where, the local currency like Sing dollars traded to the cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and so on, and the new rising coins, no matter Cardano, no matter, even Polkadot, the newly projects that label as an Ethereum killer. We still need intermediaries, right, to facilitate fiat to crypto. Maybe a decade later, this can be fully decentralized with rising of CBDC and everything. But at this juncture, we are at the stage that we still need centralized operators to facilitate on the fiat side, right? So I think this is where tokenized themselves, where I think we are still at the early stage. There are a lot of people still want to access into the cryptocurrency. Compared to where we started, we see tremendous increment on the audience. And, we are excited to be here to provide the accessibility to the mass market. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much.
Just to add on to that, actually, one thing that I want to say is that, DeFi is great if you're tech savvy, because when you want to interact with DeFi, you actually have to use your own wallet, right? Which means that you are responsible for protecting your cryptocurrency, storing it in your own hardware, software wallet. And unfortunately, this is not that simple as what a lot of people think. And in our work in this space, we've actually seen many instances of people who, incorrectly use their wallet, get phished, and then have their cryptocurrency stolen. So I think one of the advantages of going through a regulated exchange is also the ease of use, right? You put your funds with them, they protect it for you, right? And they make it easier for you to access these DeFi platforms, because for somebody who's not tech savvy, right, it can be quite challenging, I can tell you, someone who's tried it out myself, right? So I think some of the value that, these intermediaries provide, yes, the fiat side, but I think we need to understand that the larger consumer base, a lot of these retailers just don't have the sophistication, and as well as, they don't know how to protect their assets securely, in which case, actually outsourcing it to a regulated intermediary can be much safer and easier for them.
Yep, thanks, Ian. Totally agree on that. And I think the similar things, I just want to echoing back to Ian, and where also can echoing back to Lawrence, is that because the DeFi space has progressed so fast that a lot of people think, staking is like what we are looking at now at the DeFi space, getting some sushi token or uni token, and this is called staking and so-called yield farming, right? But at the early days, we have to understand that, like Bitcoin, how Bitcoin is coming is from the hardware, right, mining machine, and you get the Bitcoin from the mining machine, right? Then after that, there's a new consensus algorithm where, the problem with hardware, there's electricity, there's a lot of debate on environment not friendly, but I think the key crucial challenge here is the scaling issue, right? With hardware, you imagine with hardware, there will be different specs for different miners, and everything, there is a hardware limitations. So we have to move into another solutions where proof of stake, leverage fully on software is what people see that is an alternative to go. Even Ethereum, when we talk about Ethereum 2.0, they are moving to proof of stake. So what literally it do is that they change how the mining work, right? Become, you own a coin, you put it together, it become a validators, right? I think Ian can definitely do a better job on explaining what is validators and nodes. But what I'm trying to coming from there is that even, you go to the new consensus mechanism like proof of stake, to set up the node and validators, right? It's not everyone has the expertise, right? So company like Moonstake is here to facilitate, right? It's just like our exchange. If there are still individuals struggling to set up their own individual wallet, like Bitcoin wallet, Ethereum wallet, right? So instead of going through the hassle, especially like for certain audience, right? Why not just leverage on our platform, right? To serve as your cryptocurrency wallet purposes. So it is the same thing. If you don't know how to set up on nodes or validators, and sometimes the validators need quite a huge chunk pool of coins, you can leverage on a platform like Moonstake to serve the purpose, right? So yeah.
All right, so thank you everyone. So we are actually coming to an end for panel discussion, but we are going to proceed next to the Q&A. So thank you everyone for sharing your basically thoughts. And I think the key takeaway is definitely coming from Ian. So if you are going to crypto, you need to be tech savvy, right? If not, just use the centralized exchange because help it out. So, okay, so moving on to the next question, the Q&A. So our first question we have is from Citra, Akan Citra. If I pronounce your name wrongly, please, my apologies, not really good with names. So, okay, the first question will be, over 40% of people in the world do not have access to basic electricity, education, access to internet, or the financial knowledge. And traditional finance help the illiterate. So decentralized finance help on the privileged. Isn't a former more inclusive then? So anyone anything to say on this?
I will take these questions because I think, this is a topic, surprisingly, we come from another angle since we started, and we are in conference or we are in exhibitions. The reality is that, like you can see country like Pakistan or Indonesia, right? They have, most of them, they actually have accessibility to mobile phone, right? Compared to bank account. Well, if I may put another way is that those who have mobile phone in those so-called third world countries, right? The percentage are easily double than those who have access to bank account. Right? There are few statistics I can show, but this is actually a bit outdated 2 years back. But I believe the numbers will still around that range. If I'm not wrong, the Philippines, right, 60% of them, they don't have access to traditional bank account. But more than 80% of them, they have mobile phone. Same to Indonesia or Pakistan. Pakistan, I still remember quite clearly, is because the Ant Financial, they have some projects enter to the jurisdictions. They provide cashless services. They provide mobile app, and the statistic of them who are able to access, to the Alipay is actually higher than her traditional banking system. So if you put it into that perspective, right, the blockchains industry is actually able to penetrate and give accessibility more on the populations compared to the traditional banking, right? So this is very interesting. This is first time I see it from another perspective that, on the electricity, education, and access. Because even South Africa or Africa region, if you look now, right, the blockchain industry actually prosperous there, right? They get into the financial inclusiveness in those regions, right? It's actually more than previously. The banking has been in the world for more than few decades already, but the adoption still can't really take place in those jurisdictions. But with blockchains, for the past only like 3 years, it accelerated a lot. Right? If you see those populations, they actually have more literacy in terms of cryptocurrency and accessibility compared to even Singapore. So I just want to give that kind of perspective. So hopefully they can change your mind. How about Lawrence? Yeah, or Ian?
So to echo what Chi say, this actually was a personal experience. So in Q1 actually I was based in Thailand. So actually I did force a few of my friends there to buy Ethereum or BTC, and now they get me for it. In fact, two of them lose their jobs because of they were involved in F&B. Actually, they opened F&Bs and all that. So they are still able to earn quite a bit due to the current bull run and still be able to pay their bills. If they didn't have the exchange or the cryptocurrency access in Thailand, I think they will be suffering a lot right now. But more realistic perspective on this and thinking to anyone in the Singapore government side or banking side is their exchange license or their license brokerage can allow direct bank integration, which is why currently you don't feel it in Singapore because they can directly onboard and offboard directly to your bank account. So to answer the question, the ecosystem there, it actually has helped a lot of people during this conflict, especially during this conflict. It has helped even those who are not as rich. It's just that maybe you don't feel in Singapore because we are a bit more well off. But definitely I think it first-hand experience. Yeah.
Ian, do you have anything to add on to that?
No, I think Akan definitely pointed out an issue, right? But I think DeFi or traditional finance, there are some hurdles that people definitely that are still existing for both, right? Education, right, is one that definitely, if you do not use DeFi, you can't access it. If you don't have education, you may not also know how to get access to, traditional finance, right? The worst thing that can happen is that, without sufficient education, you try and get in and you end up losing all your money, right? What I will say though is that I think when we talk about DeFi being more inclusive, we really mean that it is open to anyone who is able to participate. Whereas with traditional finance, there's all these hurdles. They'll do credit checks on you for people in third world countries where, they have no assets, right? Even if they do have crypto, people aren't going to recognize that as an asset, which allows them to take loans. They have no credit scores, right? Whereas with DeFi, DeFi doesn't judge you based on your background, right? As long as you have the ability to access it, you can participate. Whereas traditional finance, because of compliance issues of banks having their own standards as to what constitute a high risk customer, they would typically exclude people who cannot prove their financial stability level. Yeah.
Okay. So moving on to the next question, we have from Lawrence. So for AML, what do you guys think of the transactions going through Tornado?
So I guess this is mine. So to give you guys a little bit of background, Tornado is what we would commonly term as a mixer, right? It's a service provider that allows people to hide where their transactions are coming and going, right? Now, this kind of mixing services is not uncommon, right? In fact, it's been around for a long time. And in the early days, a lot of criminals used to use it. But nowadays, right, an interesting fact, mixers can actually get licensed in the US. They can apply for a license, right, be regulated, and actually mix people's money for them to hide their cryptocurrency transactions legitimately, right? Because I mean, around the world, let's be honest, right? We talked about how Bitcoin is transparent and all this. There are people who care about their privacy, right? There are people who are sitting on billions of dollars of crypto and they don't want anybody to know because I don't want to be kidnapped. Right, we had that incident in Singapore where that guy got kidnapped probably because he made the news as being rich. So it's a lot of legitimate reasons for using mixers or privacy enabling tokens, right? So let's not, say they're all inherently bad. So my personal thoughts as to transactions going through Tornado is it's a necessary service, right? But what we do from the AML side is that whenever these funds go through mixers, we can actually tell because these mixers mix their funds in a very structured manner. There are certain telltale signs. So what we do actually is that we simply tell our clients, hey, you have a customer that is sending funds to your exchange from a mixer. What do you think about it, right? Because like I said, some mixers can be licensed, they can be regulated, right? But then at the same time, other jurisdictions take a very hard stance that, hey, all mixers are high risk. As a business, you better not touch, right? So it's a difficult question to tackle because the stance is not the same from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ian, for sharing. So we'll begin to the next question. And the next question is from Sean. And with the growth, I think this is much more targeted towards Lawrence as well as Qi. So with the growth of decentralized finance, we can see decentralized exchange technologies are rapidly evolving, and larger decentralized exchanges such as Uniswap and SushiSwap are able to provide equivalent or better rates and liquidity when compared to centralized exchanges. So these platforms are also increasingly integrated into crypto wallets, both on mobile, web, and desktop, greatly simplifying their ease of use. In your opinion, do centralized exchanges still have a clear role to play in the decentralized finance and larger crypto ecosystem beyond serving as a fiat on-off ramp? Oh, that's a long question. So anyone would like to take it first?
I'll pass it to Qi first.
Sure. Actually, this is very interesting. And to be honest, as a centralized exchange, founder, I can't say that the progress of decentralized exchange is not fascinating or not coming to a point that it can be our direct competitors, right? It's a real question, but we want to take a step back and not try to play down decentralized exchange. Is that there are a lot of real issue, and I think if I can throw back the questions to Sean, I think you will agree also. Is that currently if you're using decentralized exchange, the gas fee involved, right, for you to change a $1,000 value or few $100 value, it doesn't make sense, right? Because the gas fee can easily become 100 and 200 US dollar, just the gas fee itself. And you also need to take note the exchange like SushiSwap or Uniswap, they take around 3% fee. Correct me if I'm not wrong. So the fee is really expensive compared to the central exchange, right? And there's a lot of technology limitation issue like gas fee that can easily add up unreasonable cost for you, right? Which I don't think at this point, although I think I'm very impressed with the liquidity issue that they have been struggle for past 2 to 3 years, it already being resolved. But at the ease of use and also as the practicality, I think there's still a gap for decentralized exchange, right? And I will go a bit technical, bear with me for a while, is that for the decentralized exchange, they're using some algorithm like Uniswap 50/50. It's an algorithm that they behave very differently compared to central exchange where we use order book, right? Means that it's based on ratio, right? So if there's a selling, the ratio will just keep dropping. This is why there are a lot of defect issue in DeFi, and there's a lot of hacking can be done through depegging the certain pairing, right? Then after that, there's this terminology called rug pull, where the project owner can literally just suck another pool like the stablecoin, USDT or others away from the liquidity pool. So there are a lot of, it's great, the progress so far, but I think there are a lot of real challenges still persist, where I think the decentralized finance project or DEX, the decentralized exchange project owners, they have to relook and see how they need to solve the technical challenge. And if really one day they have solved all these things, there is still a problem that, to offer to the mass market, because the mass market is still holding the fiat, right? They're still holding their local currency, and you still need a bridge to port over to our dimensions, right? The cryptocurrency dimensions or the DeFi dimension. So I think there are still a lot of things. We still can serve the community. I would say it this way. Yeah.
Right. To add on personally, I love the DeFi space. The returns has been amazing, but I will not actually recommend anyone to go into it until you really know what's going on, which can be quite complicated. Like what exactly happens in yield farming. If you go look at it, I think you'll be quite scared to come into the DeFi space. But that was the reason why we started Moonstake for wallet solution and staking pool, because it is just an easier proposition. Yeah, you just deposit your assets in your wallet and then scale accordingly. We'll add in more and more tokens as we analyze their project quality, blockchain quality. We'll have more functions available. We work with more institutional partners to onboard the staking pool services to them. But at this stage, even for ourselves, even me personally, half of the time I have no idea what's going on in DeFi. I think Ian can explain the way the addresses are being connected is just I'm lost within the first 3 notes really.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing. So we will now proceed to our last question for this today in the Q&A session from Leonard. So what are your thoughts on the impact of high gas fees on decentralization versus centralization? So I guess Chi, you're talking about high gas fee, right? So
yeah, but I think although we are centralized operators, but the cryptocurrency that we facilitate like Bitcoin or Ethereum and so on, or even Polkadot, we use their own blockchain networks, right? So even we as a central exchange, I believe not just we, like any central exchanges in the world right now, we are paying a lot of fees, and we do a lot of subsidize on the Ethereum transactions. Right, I can be very, very honest and frank that currently each transaction, sometimes at the peak, it can cost easily $100 US or $200 US per transaction. It's really crazy, and we still paying that cost for our user, right? So I think the gas fee issue is very real. Until I think if you talk about Ethereum, until 2.0, there's nothing much we can do now. we definitely also try to R&D certain way that we can, like Bitcoin, they can do a block, they can do a batch transactions. So I think there are now more proposal like EIP. Is it 1455? I think there is certain EIP that they are trying to roll out to see how we can reduce the gas fee challenge, right? But I think no matter centralized or decentralized, as long we are facilitating on the respective network, their limitation will still pretty much hit us. But if we talk about another alternative, is that let's say you are one of our users and you're trying to transfer to another user. Now most of the central exchange, providing a free transfer, because at the end of the day, it's just our internal system swap, right? So all these things will make more sense at this juncture, where instead of paying, like let's say imagine you just want to transfer 100 Sing dollar worth of Ethereum to your friend, instead of using the blockchain, which will easily cost another 100%, literally what you want to send to your friend, you can just use our system to serve the purpose at a zero cost. Right? I think this is something that I can think of that you can leverage on centralized system or exchange.
Okay. So I guess Ian, what is your take on this?
So yeah, transaction fees are a huge issue, right? And just so everybody knows, transaction fees are not fixed. They are really up to people to set. And basically, when the network is very popular, people have to pay more transaction fees in order to prioritize their transaction. Otherwise, as somebody who's paying $100 versus somebody who's paying $10, naturally, the $100 is going to get transacted first because miners want to earn more money, not less money, right? Interesting story. So transaction fees, I think, is really an issue. The other day, I was trying to play around with DeFi platforms myself. And, regardless of what tokens you're transacting, you need to pay transaction fee in Ethereum. So what happened was, I moved 100 USDT into my wallet, and then I wanted to play on the DeFi, but I couldn't because I had to pay with the transaction fee in Ethereum. So then I had to move $50 worth of Ethereum inside to pay transaction fees. And then when I was done playing around with DeFi, I then wanted to withdraw my coins out of my MetaMask into my main wallet. So I then made the mistake of first withdrawing my Ethereum and then wanting to withdraw my USDT. But guess what? After I withdraw my Ethereum, I got no money to pay my gas fees to withdraw my USDT. So then I had to move Ethereum in again to withdraw my USDT and then withdraw my Ethereum. And that cost me a ridiculous amount of money that should not have happened. But yes, transaction fees are an issue. And I think, as what Thierry said, until we get to layer 2 on Ethereum, as well as there are a couple of solutions out there which are looking for alternatives. But until that is solved, it will have a big impact on the DeFi platform, because if you have to pay, $50 to $100 in fees, that means that the returns you make must definitely cover that, right? Otherwise, it's not economical, which means that it is excluding people who may not have that much capital, right? So I think this is definitely something that needs to be solved. Otherwise, you're going to see people migrating away from Ethereum to other blockchains which can hire more throughput. Yeah, that's just my 2 cents and my sad story.
I mean, you're not the only one. I'm sure most of the first timers may have faced that issue. I mean, I faced that issue myself as well, sad to say. So, yep. Lawrence, do you have anything to add on?
No, I feel your pain. Thank you for sharing. I'm always happy to hear other people's pain because I went through it. Like, wow, this is not the only one.
Yeah, so Leonard, I hope they answer your question. So we have now answered all the Q&As as well as the panel discussion, and we have come to an end of our panel discussion, quickfire panel discussion for today. And thank you everyone for joining us today. If you have any other additional question or feedback, please drop Lawrence an email, and it's the email that basically we send it over to you via the link. If not, it's lawrence.lin, Lin, @moonstake.io, or simply refer to your Zoom registration email for Moonstake's contact detail. So have a good week ahead and see you guys next time. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you, Roy.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Lawrence. Thank you to you.
Thank you, Lawrence, Roy, and Ian. Bye.
Bye.